I thought I knew crazy until I caught my little brother teaching our dog to drink his piss, like it was some kind of twisted nature documentary. That should have been my first warning sign that living with Jake was going to be a wild ride that could end in disaster. Growing up, most kids worry about their siblings stealing their toys or getting them in trouble with parents. I worried about my brother accidentally burning down the house or getting us both arrested. Jake wasn't just impulsive. He was dangerously creative in ways that defied all logic and self-preservation. The piss-drinking incident happened on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. I was playing outside when I heard this maniacal giggling coming from the backyard. The kind of laugh that immediately tells you someone is doing something they absolutely shouldn't be doing. I rounded the corner to find Jake standing over our golden retriever, Max, with his pants down and the biggest grin on his face. Max was enthusiastically lapping up Jake's urine like it was the finest water he'd ever tasted. "What the hell are you doing?" I screamed. Jake just shrugged. "Max likes it. Look how happy he is." I dragged him inside and made him wash his hands 3 times while trying to explain why you don't use your family pet as a human urinal. But that was just Jake being Jake, completely oblivious to boundaries, hygiene, or basic human decency. The real wake-up call came that winter. My friend Murph and I were hanging out in the barn loft, passing time and staying warm, when we heard the dogs getting let outside. We peeked out the window to see who was coming, and there was Jake, marching toward our frozen pond with a pickaxe like he was heading into battle. We watched in fascination as he started chopping through the ice with determined precision. Once he'd broken up a decent chunk, he crouched down, and I swear this part still haunts me, like some kind of feral animal. He grabbed a piece of pond ice and started gnawing on it, constantly looking around like a wild creature checking for predators. "Is your brother eating pond ice?" Murph whispered. "Yeah, that's definitely pond ice," I confirmed, feeling a mix of embarrassment and genuine concern for Jake's mental state. It was like watching a nature documentary about the bizarre mating rituals of suburban teenagers. Except this was my brother, and he was voluntarily consuming water that ducks had been swimming and shitting in all summer. But Jake's eccentricities weren't just weird. They were escalating into genuinely dangerous territory. The blank-firing Uzi incident proved that. He showed up at my house one afternoon with this realistic-looking replica gun, grinning like Christmas morning. "Dude, can I fire this out your bedroom window?" he asked, holding up what looked like a legitimate automatic weapon. "Absolutely not," I said. "That's going to sound like you're firing an actual gun. The neighbors will call the cops." Did Jake listen? Of course not. 10 minutes later, the entire house shook with rapid-fire gunshots. My mom came running upstairs, my dad grabbed a baseball bat, and I'm pretty sure Mrs. Peterson next door was already dialing 911. Jake came strolling back upstairs with this smug expression. "I told them we were popping balloons," he announced proudly, like he'd just solved world hunger. "Balloons?" I stared at him. "You think they believe that balloons sound like automatic gunfire?" "They seem to buy it," he shrugged. That's when I realized Jake wasn't just impulsive. He was completely detached from reality. Normal people understand cause and effect. Jake lived in a universe where physics and consequences were merely suggestions. The $100 balloon offer came next. Jake burst into my room one day with a weather balloon and a crisp $100 bill. "I'll give you this 100 if you blow up this balloon in your room until it pops," he said seriously. "Why would you pay me to do that?" "I want to see what happens." I declined, obviously, because I'm not an idiot. But the fact that Jake was willing to pay someone else to potentially destroy their eardrums and bedroom ceiling spoke volumes about his decision-making process. The roof-climbing incident nearly gave me a heart attack. It was the dead of winter, ice covering everything, when I heard scraping sounds above my bedroom. I looked out to see Jake army crawling up our slanted roof with 2 butter knives as makeshift ice picks, wearing nothing but a t-shirt and jeans. He made it to my window and started pounding on the glass. "Let me in," he yelled. "It's cold out here. How did you even get up there?" I screamed back. "Ladder," he pointed down proudly, as if scaling an icy roof with kitchen utensils was a reasonable solution to whatever problem he thought he was solving. I let him in through the window because the alternative was watching my brother slide off the roof and break his neck in our driveway. But as I helped him climb through, all I could think was, this is how I'm going to end up in jail. Not for anything I did, but for not stopping Jake from killing himself in increasingly creative ways. The hoverboard smoke bomb spectacle was peak Jake. He'd bought one of those self-balancing scooters and 2 military-grade smoke bombs. His plan was simple: activate the smoke bombs, hop on the hoverboard, and spin in circles while I filmed. "This is going to be so sick," he said, lighting both smoke bombs simultaneously. Within 30 seconds, our garage was completely filled with thick, choking smoke. Jake was spinning in circles, coughing his lungs out, but refusing to stop because he wanted to get the full effect on camera. I was filming through tears, trying not to suffocate, while Jake slowly disappeared into this wall of artificial fog. He finally stopped when he literally couldn't breathe anymore, stumbling off the hoverboard and gasping like he'd just run a marathon. The smoke took hours to clear, and the footage was completely useless because you couldn't see anything but gray clouds. But perhaps the most telling aspect of Jake's personality was his relationship with money and material possessions. He'd regularly blow his entire paycheck on designer clothes, polo shirts, expensive sneakers, name brand everything. He'd wear these items exactly once before deciding they looked stupid as hell, and giving them to me. "Nah man, I don't want these." "What was I thinking?" became his catchphrase after every shopping spree. The most memorable example was a white polo shirt with a giant tree and sun design that cost him over $100. He wore it to school once, came home, and immediately offered it to me because it made him look like a park ranger. One day he asked me to drive him to Plato's Closet with 2 duffel bags full of barely worn designer clothes. I watched him swagger into that store like he was making some major business deal. 20 minutes later, he walked back to my car with the exact same confident stride. "Man, I got $20, he announced proudly, holding up a crumpled $20 bill like it was a lottery jackpot. That was Jake in a nutshell, spending hundreds to make 20, and somehow feeling like he'd won. But the incident that finally scared me straight happened during his trampoline phase. Jake had convinced himself that the solution to all of life's problems was a trampoline on our roof. Not near the roof, not beside the roof, on the roof. "Think about it," he explained with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for scientific breakthroughs. "I could jump off the roof and land in the pond." I had to physically draw diagrams to explain why this wouldn't work. Our roof was a good 30 feet from the pond. Even Olympic long jumpers couldn't make that distance. And that was assuming he didn't just crash straight through the trampoline and break both legs. Okay, Jake said like I was being unreasonable. "What if we put the trampoline on the ground instead?" Again, I had to explain physics. Best case scenario, he misses the trampoline entirely and breaks something. Worst case scenario, he lands on the trampoline, goes right through it, and breaks everything. "But what if it works?" he asked genuinely. That's when I realized the fundamental difference between Jake and everyone else. Most people consider the probable outcomes of their actions. Jake only considered the best possible outcome, no matter how unlikely. The scary part wasn't just that Jake was willing to risk his own life for these ridiculous stunts. The scary part was that he was so charming and convincing that he almost made me want to help him. There was something infectious about his complete confidence that everything would work out fine. But as we got older, I started to understand that Jake's fearlessness came from a place of genuine innocence. He wasn't trying to be reckless or dangerous. He just lived in a world where consequences didn't exist until they smacked him in the face. Looking back now, I realize that growing up with Jake taught me something valuable. Not about taking risks or living fearlessly, but about the importance of having someone in your life who looks at the world completely differently than you do. Jake saw possibilities where I saw problems. He saw adventures where I saw disasters waiting to happen. And while I spent most of our childhood trying to keep him from accidentally killing himself, I also got to witness someone who approached life with absolute wonder and zero cynicism. Sure, he peed in our dog's mouth and tried to eat pond ice like some kind of suburban caveman. Yes, he nearly got us arrested with fake gunfire and almost burned down our garage with smoke bombs. And absolutely, his fashion sense cost him thousands of dollars for $20 returns. But Jake also taught me that sometimes the most memorable moments come from the people who refuse to color inside the lines. Even if those people happen to be your little brother, and even if their idea of creativity involves teaching family pets questionable bathroom habits. These days, Jake has calmed down considerably. He's got a steady job, a girlfriend who somehow finds his weirdness charming, and he hasn't climbed any roofs in years. But every now and then, he'll text me with some new brilliant idea, and I'll have flashbacks to that winter day when I watched him crouch by a frozen pond, gnawing on ice like a wild animal. And despite everything, the stress, the embarrassment, the genuine fear for his safety, I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. Because Jake might be the weirdest person I've ever known, but he's also the most genuinely fearless. And in a world full of people afraid to take any risks at all, maybe we need more people like Jake. Just maybe with better judgment about what constitutes an acceptable risk. And definitely with better understanding of basic hygiene when it comes to pets.